Okay, ready to go? All right, so this is the date and the time that has been publicly advertised for a hearing regarding a proposed amendment to the township's zoning ordinance. We have a court reporter present who will be transcribing the hearing. The purpose for the amendment is to establish a parking overlay district in the 79 North Industrial and Research Park to accommodate the current needs and to provide adequate parking for businesses within the park. The proposed amendment provides a list of parcels to be included in the parking overlay and also provides criteria and requirements for parking facilities to be constructed within the park. Furthermore, the proposed amendment involves a zoning map change and also a text amendment to the zoning ordinance. It is believed the parking overlay should help to solve some of the traffic and parking issues along Deer Run Road by encouraging parking within the industrial park. So that's the gist of the amendment to the ordinance. We will proceed by having anybody who chooses to testify either in favor or opposition to the proposed amendment to stand up and be sworn by the court reporter. Is there anybody who wishes to testify in opposition or in favor of the proposed amendment? Well, seeing no one, actually,
Is anyone in the lobby?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
What are they here for in the lobby? There's people in the lobby, would they?
Do any of you intend to testify in favor of or in opposition to the zoning amendment that's being proposed tonight? The parking overlay.
All in favor?
Yeah, we're all in favor of it.
Okay. I think we do have someone who does plan to testify, so would you give your name, sir, for the record and be sworn in by the court reporter? Sure.
Hi, my name is Albert Kaur. I'm a representative of the ownership of the industrial park.
Thank you, and I will call on you in 1 second.
Sure.
Before we take the testimony,
Swear in?
oh, I'm sorry.
You said it twice.
Never mind.
Raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to God on that last great day?
I do.
Before we get to the testimony, I want to give a little explanation of the record. For purposes of the record, we have certain exhibits that we take, and I think Gwen has prepared all those exhibits for me. And those include a copy of the proposed ordinance, which is the amendment, a copy of the letter to the county planning department, which has reviewed this, a copy of the advertisement that was placed in the Pittsburgh,
In the Beaver County Times.
in the Beaver County Times, the proofs of publication, photographs of the public postings, which we are required to do in accordance with the municipality's planning code, copies of letters to affected property owners, also required by the municipality's planning code, copies of letters to adjacent property owners, which we also are required to do by law, a letter to Sewickley Borough, who is our partner in the ASO, which is a joint comprehensive plan that we entered into with Sewickley and Osborne. Number 9 is the Glen Osborne letter, also notifying them of the change in the ordinance. The recommendation from the Planning Commission, which has reviewed this on at least 2 occasions and has recommended its adoption. The letter from the county commenting on the proposed amendment, comments received from Endurance Real Estate, and comments received from Masonic. And those will be numbered 1 through 13 consecutively and made part of the record. I'll hand these over to you, Donna. And again, let the record show that other than Mr. Core, there is no one here to speak either in favor of or in opposition to the ordinance. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Core and ask him to make his comments.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Commissioners, thank you. I just wanted to say, we've owned this park since April of 2019. In owning this for the last 15 months, a lot of the feedback we've received from our tenants has really been related to just staying up with the times and obviously having a need for parking. In speaking with Mr. Stone and Ms. Patterson, as it relates to some of the issues that have been occurring in the township with some of the users and our tenants in the park, quickly came to realize that this overlay that we've been working towards would definitely be seen as a benefit, not only to our tenants, to us as the landlord, but also to the residents of the township, because there's been obviously a fair amount of back and forth as it relates to some of the users in the park, some of their drivers, employees, etc. So I just wanted to come tonight and come on the record and saying we support this overlay. And if anyone has any questions for me as the representative of the landlord, I'm more than happy to take them.
So that's a good segue, because this would be the time in the hearing when I would normally ask the commissioners if they had any questions. So if anyone has any questions on the board, Mr. Core is here to answer them.
I do not have any questions. As we've continually discussed, ongoing for the last several months.
Does anyone have, do any of the commissioners have any questions of me or Gwen about the process that was followed in bringing this before the commissioners tonight?
Do not. Do not.
Okay, so with the introduction of those exhibits into the record and the testimony of Mr. Core, I believe we can close the public hearing at this point, and there will be a vote taken in the public meeting which follows.
Great,
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Arlen, did you officially close?
Yeah, the hearing is officially closed and you can begin your public meeting.
And I called to order at approximately 7:10 on July 13th, the Aleppo Township Workshop meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
President Jones,
Present.
Vice President Williams. Here. Commissioner Dara,
Present.
Commissioner Reichert,
Here.
and Commissioner Haluja.
Present.
Solicitor Stone,
Here.
Manager Patterson.
Here?
I think as we all know, these meetings are recorded. They're then uploaded to YouTube and can be watched anywhere, anytime, any place. I think in addition, you'll note that we will abide by certain social distancing requirements and mask wearing, and we will accept the advice of our emergency management coordinator. So if you have a specific agenda item that you want to discuss, perhaps to allow other people to join the meeting, once you have made your presentation, you could allow other people to come in. Is there a motion to approve the June 15th, 2020?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Whole business, Amazon. Gwen?
I'm actually going to throw it to Amy.
Okay, good.
Yes, I was not present at last week's meeting. Gwen had caught me up to speed, and part of it was to find out where we were in our meetings with Amazon. So before the coronavirus. We were on 3 months straight of beginning to meet with Amazon representatives here. After both of our meetings, we would meet the 4th week to bring up problems to discuss, and we were at the point where we were looking at signage, ordering waste baskets and things like that. So we were at the point of, I think, hitting a stride and making some progress. And then everything went away and ended, and our focus obviously moved it to a different part. We are now re-engaging with Amazon again to let them know of the new but old complaints with their drivers. And again, they are responsive. So we emailed them the video from last week's meeting, and also have it on the plate that we're setting a date for the week of the 27th after this meeting, that we'll again reconvene our monthly meetings with representation. So we were previously meeting with Jonathan, who is the site manager, and now their operations manager, and I believe a new community representative will also be on board with this to help start problem solving and finding some common sense solutions to the issues that we're facing. So we will continue to gather all of that information to share with them, not only through this sharing videos of this meeting, but also regular meeting. So they did issue a response from last week as part of their training and introduction for their drivers of their expectations that they have begun laying out and putting in writing during their meetings and everything with the drivers. So I'll read their bullet points for what they are working on currently with their drivers. So this is from Operations Manager Ryan McLean. Sorry, I'm having a hard time talking too. Okay, actions to address the Aleppo Township concerns. Drivers should not be using Redgate Road under any circumstance unless a delivery directs them in this area. Specifically, this is a windy and dangerous road for vans. Drivers need to return all trash to the site to dispose of or get rid of at each of your off-site lots. Amazon will procure small trash bags for vans if that will assist with this issue. No speeding, reckless driving, close following, or any other dangerous behaviors that put our drivers and communities at risk. We must convey a message that our drivers are the face of Amazon and represent all the hard work that we all do daily, playing our part in building a healthy partnership with the community as we drive safely and cultivate appropriate behaviors for all drivers. We will partner with the routing team to continue to explore options of navigating drivers around Redgate Road. We will partner with the parking team to explore closer options to eliminate the needs for off-site DSPs to utilize Redgate Road, which I'm guessing that's drivers, the DSPs. So that is their response from our last week's concerns. So I just wanted to share that part of it. And then our job again will be to gather concerns and more information for us for our meeting with them in person next week from this meeting. Does that make sense for where we are? Summarize it? Okay. Okay.
Anything to add? Are any of our guests here related to this subject?
Check the hall.
Check.
For Amazon,
Anybody here concerned about Amazon? Okay. Nope.
Thank you. Emergency exit from Manor. Gwen and Judy?
I can just, Harlan and I worked on the language on this one. We had a couple language tweaks to the easement agreements that we needed to make. They were made, so as soon as I get those back, we will be then talking about the strategy to approach the different property owners to start discussing the easements. We wanted to make sure we were clear as the township on, maintenance and construction and things like that. So the next step will be, now that we're pretty close on that, the next step will be for us to approach the different property owners and start getting.
How many is there?
I think there's 5.
One of them is the manor.
Yeah.
So there's 5 residents and the manor.
Just giving you an update on the status of that project.
Yeah. So you feel you're close to making contact with the property owners?
Almost close.
And have Have we kept with the Heights Manor homeowners advised?
Not since a couple months ago when we first started.
Probably a good thing.
We've been laid off for a while, yeah.
Any other comments relative to the emergency exit from the manor? 2020 sewer bond refinancing. Gwen, do you want to update? You've received the most recent emails.
It's ongoing. We have some certain working group calls that for the bond council and the financial advisors to be getting together to discuss the status, and we'll be having a call with Moody's as a check-in on our rating. And still aiming, it's still the same schedule. So they're still looking to do the same schedule, possibly a September pricing.
Do any other commissioners have any questions about the bond refinancing?
I do not.
Commissioner Williams?
No, I do not.
Thank you. New business. Do I hear a motion to adopt the parking overlay amendment to zoning ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Does it need more detail, Mr. Solicitor?
Nope.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes. Request for amendment to the zoning ordinance regulating distilleries, wineries, and breweries. Hello, Mr. Victor.
George.
So we'd only have another, yeah, the doorway's okay, but we can, you want to come in? We received a letter, getting it here, requesting a change to the zoning ordinance to allow these 3 uses in the R3 district. And we received a letter from Mr. Steve Victor, and he's here to tell us about it.
Could you state your name and address?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Stephen Victor with Victor Wetzel Associates. On behalf of Kim McLaughlin, the owner of the McLaughlin Distillery, we have met with the township staff, and now we've proposed a ordinance change to allow not only distilleries, which is our specific desire, but also to allow, would that be better?
I don't think
No,
it's-
No, it's not you.
It's Art.
It's Art's phone.
Art, can you mute your phone?
Commissioner Williams?
You might be muted
You
now.
can mute him. Patty.
Okay. Although our specific request is to allow a distillery within the R3 district, to be fair, we felt that maybe it should also include other like uses, such as a winery and a brewery, as well as a distillery. Now, we're not asking for any action on the proposed amendment change. All we're looking for is to answer any questions you may have, and then it would appropriately be forwarded on to your planning commission for their review, onto the county, or the county planning commission to review, and then back to you for holding a public hearing. And upon the conclusion of the public hearing, then you would have the opportunity to accept, amend, or deny the proposal as we've put it forward here. The amendment is being put forth as a friendly amendment to your ordinance. We are not making a formal curative change to your ordinance, which would be a challenge to your ordinance, and we're not taking that position at all. We do believe your ordinance doesn't speak to this area, and that's why we've suggested what we have, but we are not doing so in any sort of aggressive way or taking legal action to push this upon you. It's something we would like to work through with you. Mr. McLaughlin's distillery has been working quite successfully as a small business, small distillery in Sewickley Hills area, and he would just like to move out of his rental situation into a place where he can have a piece of property in which he could build a nicer facility in which he would own. So that's our motivation. If there's any questions you may have tonight, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, we would be very pleased if you could just forward it on to the Planning Commission and start the process.
Anyone have any questions?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Could you please come to the podium and introduce yourself and your address, please?
My name's Fred Gregorich, 546 Glenfield Road. This proposed amendment, or friendly amendment that this gentleman's proposing to the board, is to allow a commercial operation in a residential zoning district. By definition, I mean, our zoning ordinance doesn't define it. By definition, a distillery is manufacturing alcohol. So it's a manufacturing operation. And if you look in our zoning ordinance, in the C2 zoning district, light manufacturing is permitted as a conditional use. So there is an area for this type of use to be to take place in the township. And the area that they're speaking of, I'm just through the grapevine, I'm hearing it's on Ferry Road. It's a piece of property, it's been for sale for a while. And it's a residential zoning district. Mr. McLaughlin's operation is a 7-day-a-week operation. He's open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Sundays 12 to 6, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. They offer tasting of alcohol, sales. They offer tours. They offer classes. People come and take classes to learn how to make alcohol. So it's a busy place. And I actually was on his at his place of business and looked around, and there's a lot of outdoor storage that takes place up there. Huge 1,000-gallon plastic tanks, stacks and stacks of pallets. Look like there's some kind of outdoor storage bins. And to put that type of operation on Ferry Road, that does not fit at all. It's a commercial use trying to put a commercial use in a residential district. And a commercial use goes through land development process. So there's no sewage, there's no public sewage on Ferry Road. There's many, many obstacles. This just does not fit. And that's about all I got to say about that. Thank you.
Fred, could you also, for the record, you're on the Planning and Zoning.
I'm on the Planning Commission, yes.
So you would-
Advisory Board, yes.
You would see this eventually anyways?
Correct. But I'm speaking as a resident,
Oh,
because I live in that area. So, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, please.
There are some points that I would disagree on and points I would agree. Primarily, the R3 district is a residential district. However, it also allows some commercial activities. Someone wanted to open a mom and pop grocery store, that's a permitted use in there. Secondly, that I didn't want to get site specific to this because this could happen within anywhere of the R3 district. And I think it's more appropriate to discuss the level of questioning that Brett is putting forward at the Planning Commission meeting and go into the details of it. I was not prepared tonight to negotiate or give argument as to why it's a good or a bad thing.
I think, Mr. Solicitor, that's accurate.
What is?
We should appropriately pass this to the Planning and Zoning.
Yeah, there's a whole
For
process
a
here.
formal review, et cetera.
Oh, yeah, as Mr. Victor pointed out, there's a whole process here that has to be followed, and there's plenty of time for planning commission input and resident input
Right.
and public hearings. So, yeah, there's no need for the commissioners to take any particular action this evening.
I think that's good, that's true. Anything else?
You have a question?
My name is Jerry Gregorich. I am Fred's wife, and I live on Glenfield Road, 546. Again, I'm here, as I was in January, to stop something that was happening in our area that should not be happening. And here we are again. This is an area that is residential, quiet. The road does not handle traffic. And now you're saying that you would like to have the meeting at the planning commission. Unfortunately, we can't go to the planning commission meetings, correct? Residents? Can we? Oh, okay, I didn't know that. But I'm just saying that it's important for us to voice our opinion, okay? And our opinion is that we, as residents, do not want that there. And we are willing to fight that it doesn't happen. And we will be at the meeting then.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask a question? You said about the mom and pop grocery store. You're saying that would be considered under the agricultural clause in R3?
No, it
Sorry.
specifically isn't allowed use. I didn't bring my list
Okay.
of the permitted uses in there, which I will bring at the planning commission and the supervisors, but if you go through the list of permitted uses, in my opinion, and in the discussion we had with the township, this is not light manufacturing. It does not comply with the C2 requirements, but it is. There are commercial businesses within the R3 district, such as the mom and pop grocery stores.
Okay,
And I'll look for
But,
more
again,
information as we
I don't
go
wanna-
I
through the
think the
process.
proper protocol is to allow this to go to the planning commission. Details can happen. We'll have lots of time to ask questions. You'll have lots of time to ask questions. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And I will bring to your attention just on this issue that I did receive a comment letter around 5 o'clock today, so I put it out
The attorney?
on the issue, yes.
Okay. Traffic sight
And we
line.
saw- and we were-
Oh, I'm sorry, please.
Can we speak on this issue, please?
Sure.
I just want to nip this in the bud because I am against it, and I am Elizabeth Burnett. I live on 183 Ferry Road. I'm here to just kind of jump in quickly to show you that I really oppose a distillery at the bottom of my driveway or anywhere in that Ferry Farm, Ferry Road district. So, yeah, I think, some other people here would agree with me, but I know that you have to go through a process, so I just wanted to tell you,
No.
I am opposed.
Thank you very much. And for the record, we did receive a letter from Attorney Robert Goldman, who states he's representing certain Aleppo Township residents that asked some serious questions about this proposal.
And I think we could discuss that in executive
Right.
session at some point.
Right.
Hi, my name's Fred Burnett. I live at 183 Ferry Road. Ooh, it's hard. And my property and the Thomas's property here both adjoin the property Mr. McLaughlin has looked at, that he is interested in. And so I don't really have anything to add to what the Gregorich has said, except we feel that that's a very inappropriate use of the property that borders ours. It's, it's zoned rural residential. It's not just residential, it's rural residential. And that street is very much a rural residential quiet street. And this would not fit at all on that street. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jeffrey A. Thomas, 195 Ferry Road. Fred, my neighbor down there. I've been here in Aleppo Township since 1985. I don't remember any commercial properties or anything in Aleppo here on the road down there or nothing. You know, it's all family, residential, you know, people bought their places down there, you know, because they wanted to be out in the country and, you know, close to 79 and 279 and be close to everything, but yet still have a nice little piece of property, you know, nice and quiet. You know, with any kind of business. He's talking about a mom and pop store, or even like the Pop Man store. Used to be down at the end of Ferry Road. I don't know if anybody remembers buying pop down there as a kid. I know my dad did. But still, it wasn't like a commercial business where you were piping trucks into that store and, you know, alcohol, bringing all kind of traffic and who knows what nots in. Whether it be a distillery, refinery, or what. I don't want any kind of business down there around me. You know, I want to go down the bottom of my driveway to see delivery trucks dropping bread off or booze off or, you know, what have it. You know, I don't think any of these people do either. There is places in Aleppo they can do that. They got the industrial park and commercial places, and I think that's the place for that stuff. If he's doing it, he's living where he's at now, in a little place, he wants to expand. He's going to expand that. There's 8 acres there. You know, how much booze you want to make on 8 acres? Then too, what's next? You got St. Mary's parking lot down there. You put seats down there. What next? You know, I just like to keep it residential and quiet. You know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments about this particular proposal?
Just one more thing. Sorry. Fred Gregory, 546 Glenville Road. Just as a reminder, that is not the only R3 district in the township. So if it were to be permitted by conditional use or whatever in that area, you have 2 other R3 districts in Aleppo Township that it would also be permitted in. So that's just some food for thought.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you.
All right, moving on.
Thank you.
Traffic sight lines on McCoy Place.
I hear you loud and clear. I will pass that on to my client.
You had mentioned that you took a tour up there and saw that there's a bend on McCoy, and we talked about this probably a year ago or so. And we had some residents come in and concerned about their sight lines. And the bend is still there, and the sightline difficulty is still there. So last week, the Public Works crews went and painted a single yellow line around that part of the bend, just as a way to help remind people to stay in their lane and not veer out of their lane as they're coming around the bends. It's very easy to just kind of hit the middle of the road there. And the next step would be to investigate putting up any no parking signs and no parking between these signs in certain sections of McCoy. That would eliminate, you kind of have to do it on both sides of the street, because otherwise people would just park on the other side of the street, and then you would still have the same problem of people crossing over on a blind curve. So it's very easy for us to acquire the signs and do that, but we would want to maybe approach those couple property owners first, just to let them know, because we would be restricting, they could not have people park in front of their houses. And we think there are about four properties
Okay.
that would be affected.
Are they
So-
properties with driveways, Gwen?
They do have driveways. Yes, they do have driveways, so they could park there, but
Just a bit of history. We've been addressing McCoy Road, McCoy Place traffic for quite some time. There was an incident there. We've looked at speed bumps, we've looked at various lineages, we've looked at et cetera, et cetera. This is fairly simple to do. The line, obviously simple.
line's simple,
We
yeah.
have ordered a speed monitoring sign, which we can apply there. But just the other day, I drove up to take a look at it. It's a very dangerous curve. And there was a landscape truck parked in front of one of the houses. I probably had 20 feet of sight and had to go into the other lane. So I think we need to address it. And do you intend to contact the people on?
If the board would like me to do that, I'm very happy to contact the people and just say, hey, we've received the concern about the sight lines. I mean, they were some of the people that brought up some of the concerns.
I was gonna say, I think you're gonna find out that some of the people that you're restricting are the very people that are saying, fix this.
Yes.
So Gwen, that would be good. And then anybody that happens to be listening or happens to see this meeting in the near future, let us know. But it is something that one step at a time we need to address.
Yeah, and just that line just doesn't do it. I watch that next to my house.
Okay, Commissioner Haluka and Gwen, I think you have knowledge of a request to put a flagpole at the front of Strictly Heights Drive?
I do. Did you want to go back to the zoning ordinance comprehensive
Sure,
review? Or do you want to do that later?
a little later.
Okay. The flagpole. So we got, the township got a request on the new request form that we created for, someone has asked to put a permanent flagpole at the entrance to Sewickley Heights Manor and fly a US flag on the flagpole. So I contacted the resident who requested, Roger Valenti. I contacted him to get some more details about what this proposal is. He said that homeowners would chip in to buy the flagpole and the flags would be donated. Then the volunteers would purchase flags, but he said he would like it to be a township flagpole installed and maintained by the township. And he's not requesting that it be lighted, and so he did say that he understood that someone would have to pull the flag down every night because that's flag regulations. He said that he would have Manor neighbors would be interested in helping with that. And he said it's just so everyone would know it's for an American flag only, no cause flags, no sports flags, nothing, and it's not related to any political party. It is just a request for a flag pole.
And did you receive design details?
This was, we met, he came in and this is what he met about.
Did he tell you how large he wanted the pole to be?
He did not? No.
Do any commissioners have any comments?
So for our purpose, what is our investment in it? Then we would have to take down the flag, maintain.
I mean, that was a brief
maintenance.
conversation about whether or not it would be the township's flag to raise and lower every day, and I said it would not be the township's flag to raise. We have one here, and
Right.
and that's lighted, and if it's not lighted, it comes down, and so.
I'm slightly perplexed.
I guess the concern is the maintenance and the adhering to flag etiquette in a proper way. I happen to live right across from where that flagpole's going, so I can kind of guess who's going to have to raise and lower that flag every night. Not sure that I want to make that commitment, but even if I did, even if I said I would raise and lower the flag every single night and 4 neighbors would help me, the manor is very transient. You know what I mean? I may move, I may die, and so do other neighbors, and there's no way to guarantee that the person moving in my house behind me is going to be willing to raise and lower a flag. And the solution to flag etiquette would be to light it, and it cannot be lighted there because I don't know if you know where we're talking about. We're talking about just as you come into the main portion of the manor, and we would blind, talk about a blinded curve. We would blind anybody that came in there with a spotlight on a flagpole, no doubt about it. So, while I get that a flag would be nice, I think there's some real maintenance issues if you're going to do it. If you're going to do an American flag, you have to do an American flag correctly. I don't want to see some falling apart, ripped up American flag hanging on a pole.
I would think that they should reconsider and see if the homeowners association would be responsible. I doubt that they would.
Well, that's a good transition because according to our policy, when there's a request to do something on township property, we get a reaction from the neighborhood, from the residents that would be directly impacted. So Gwen, would you pass this along to the Sewickley Heights Manor Board for their comments?
Yes.
And could you state again for me what he's asking the township to do?
It wasn't on the form, but in the meeting that we had, it was he would like it to be a township flagpole installed and maintained by the township.
And the maintenance would be the raising and lowering of the flag?
Well, I think flagpoles, depending on what the material is, they might need to be painted, they might need to be repaired,
They might need to be
mechanisms.
re-roped. Yep.
Yeah, the mechanisms,
How
yeah.
tall is he talking about?
As big as the money that he can collect. That's what he told me. He was hoping for 20 to 30 foot. So not a small flag.
All right, now, I think between the manor review and our further review, there'll be a lot of questions. And absolutely, you can't, I would not support a flag that was improperly maintained. And there are pretty strict regulations. Any other discussion?
I'll
You
refer
might ask the manor board
to the
to
manor.
take a look at this in the next meeting and then report back to us.
Mhm.
I'm coming back to that soon. The Strictly Borough traveling glass recycling proposal?
Yes, let me write this down. Okay, so, a member of Sewickley Borough Council called, they wanted to talk about, glass recycling. PRC, which is Pennsylvania Resources Council, is applying for a grant for a permanent glass recycling location, but that's out of our hands or their hands. There is an opportunity for $900 for 1 week of a glass dumpster, and then if there's a second bin needed, it would be an additional $300, so a max of $1,200 for this. This council person was suggesting Quaker Village Shopping Center or a high school or middle school, and it sounded like the Sewickley Council was looking to have a partner to share this. So I said I would bring it up, and then after I had that phone call, we had a COG meeting, and we found out that a donor has funded 2 travel sites for this specific glass recycling bin in the COG area. It's gonna be in Avalon for 1 week, and it's gonna be in Leedsdale for 1 week. And I will get the dates after August 1st, we will know the dates, so that will be open to any Quaker Valley COG members, and we are COG members. So, the first proposal was, hey, would we share the cost of a glass recycling, dumpster for a week? And then now we found out that someone is funding
We
that
don't need
for
to.
Aleppo residents. So I thought I'd bring it up because I said that I would, discuss it here.
And then this Saturday, online, there's a discussion sponsored by the COG about solid waste of the future in addition. So I think we should wait to see what the other communities are thinking about, and there's really no action to take.
Okay, I will just get back to the council member and say that we discussed it, but we didn't make any decisions or anything.
Right.
Okay.
The Sewickley Leedsdale sewer proposal. Dan, would you mind just a brief update?
We met with the Sewickley Borough Manager and Council President and engineer about 10 days ago. They came to visit with us. We're trying to get a status of what's going on to move forward. I wouldn't say interesting, I probably would say disappointing to see that didn't seem to be any real leadership coming out of Sewickley. We asked the question, who's in charge? And Jeff Neff said basically, I don't want to have anything to do with sewage. So, another interesting thing we learned was that Dan Schlegel, who has been acting on behalf of Sewickley, is actually being paid by Leedsdale. And Sewickley said reimbursing. So going to Schlegel for any sort of making something happen is a no-go. One thing that we did suggest to the Sewickley folks is that, if we could get a better comfort level about dollars and cents costs, you might have a chance of trying to move this thing forward. And we asked Schlegel, who was also at the meeting, why can't you go to DEP right now and ask if you could get the Leedsdale plant recertified for a higher volume? Well, you could do that, but you'd have to pay to do it. It costs $10,000. So we suggested that maybe they should talk to the 8 municipalities that they're proposing to be part of this and see if everybody will kick up a little bit of pocket change and find out whether this is a real deal with a recertification or whether we're talking about an expansion. Is that enough?
Certainly.
Sounds like enough.
I think the most productive part of the meeting is we raised some questions they couldn't answer, and now they're making efforts to answer those questions. But it was very clearly stated Sewickley wants out of the wastewater business, which of course directly impacts us because they treat our waste. More on that to come, I'm sure. Back to comprehensive review zoning. And Gwen, the reason that, I didn't want to bring it up because we went too far with the distillery anyways, but any ordinance requests, any zoning requests that we get now, we have to understand that we're doing a comprehensive redo. So piecemealing right now is probably not a good idea. But go ahead with an update.
So we've been working on the ASO, the Aleppo Swickley Osborne Comprehensive Plan update for the last 2 years. We're very close now to completing that revision and that update. So that will be coming to this board probably in August to review the plan. It's an online document, so you'll get a link to it, and then we'll be able to put it up on the screen hopefully during the meeting, and we can click through and the consultant can show us the different features of the plan. I actually do like the online thing. It's pretty cool. It's better than just a bound book that goes on a shelf. So it's pretty interesting that way. So with that process almost finished, we don't have to wait any longer because we're close to start the zoning ordinance revision. And we have a proposal here from HRG, our engineers, and they have a whole planning department also. And they gave us the proposal to rewrite the zoning ordinance from start to finish, taking into, factoring in any of the things that come out of the comprehensive plan. But we've been maintaining a list for several years. They've been maintaining a list for several years because they use our ordinance all the time to review plans. And the planning commission is really itching to get this revised. They want to start working on this. They have given me lists of things. So it's time to do our zoning ordinance from start to finish to make sure that it is up to date. We have a whole bunch of new topics. We have topics that were missed. We have corrections in it. So we have this proposal here from HRG. It's actually a little less than the original proposal. We'd gotten one that was a little higher than this, and they revised some of the stuff. Made some of the costs per cost rather than just a lump sum. So if we need 50 copies, we'll pay for the 50 copies. If we need 2, we'll pay for 2. So that's what you have here is this proposal from them to begin the rewrite of the comprehensive rewrite of the zoning ordinance.
And for the commissioners, we budgeted 20,000. Their first proposal was 28. We negotiated down to 23. And I think as the plan comes into more detail, we might even discuss their proposal further. But 23,000 is pretty close to our budget.
So next week, sorry, George.
No, go.
Next week, Ben will be here because we have a development plan coming in that you will have another hearing on next week. So, but he'll be here and he can answer some detailed questions. So if anybody wants to look that over or think about the zoning ordinance for a week and give him some specific questions you might have about the process.
Thank you. Solicitor Stone, any comment?
No, I think that your ordinance is overdue for a review. That said, and even considering all the things that Glenn just listed that we've been accumulating over the years as we went along, you have a zoning ordinance that's relatively comprehensive. It's just a little out of date. And so I don't imagine that this is going to be an exhaustive or an extensive rewrite of your zoning ordinance. It's really going to be just to update it with some of the more current issues that have cropped up in the zoning area.
Good. Citizen participation.
Chris Grimm, 1255 Merriman Road. The one thing I wanted hearing is the flagpole issue. One is, if it's on township property, isn't township responsible if it would fall on somebody or a vehicle? We get high winds up here, so that might be a key of thought to think about. Because if they have something on township property, the township's responsible for it. So with me being on this side of the world, my taxpayer money is going to go if somebody gets hurt, getting put up and everything like that.
Be my car.
Yeah, so it's something to think about, especially being part of the township's property. The other thing, I know Gwen was there looking at the storm drain. Hopefully the flagpole doesn't go up before I get no water going in my yard. This has been going on for a good while now. So it's just, I don't know if you
We were, you saw us, or
Yeah,
Charles,
she
you
saw
knew we
it.
were over there, and we had asked permission, so we were tromping through the yard
Yeah.
and trying to figure it out. It's now back at the engineer was there too, and he's back at him to try to come up with like 1 or 2 sketch designs to figure out the best way to try to channel some of that, whether it's underground or whether it's overground or a pipe or something, so he's on it.
Okay.
He's on trying to design something.
The other question too with the industrial park, is there any noise zoning or light zoning where they can't have certain bright lights, noise after a certain time, or is there any restriction they have? Because as residents, you only have, like, what, after midnight, you know, you can't have your radio blaring or anything like that, because I'm just worried with this overlay, how many people are gonna be up there at night, their car stereo blaring, anything like that. I didn't know if the industrial park has any kind of, where they, after a certain time, they can't have radios blaring, lights too bright. You know, because residents have it, why couldn't, you know, industrial?
I can answer that. With the overlay, we actually acquire more control and more ability to regulate the activities with respect to the parking in the industrial park than if we did not adopt the overlay.
Okay, one that's Verizon, because they have the one after the building, they work on vehicles. And I know in the past, I think it was maybe a year ago, their stereo was literally blasting. I thought I left the radio on. So are they still going to be having an ordinance against
So
that?
these are all uses and these are all things that have happened under the old ordinance. So I don't know what processes were followed there, but under the new ordinance, they will have to come before the commissioners to get approval for any parking that goes on in the industrial park. And when they do that, the commissioners will have the discretion and the authority to impose reasonable conditions, which can include the regulation of noise, can include light, can include hours of operation. So really, this overlay improves the commissioner's ability to regulate the activities, the parking activities in the industrial park.
Nice.
So there's nothing currently set in stone
No,
that they...
we currently have regulations for the industrial that govern. There's standards in our zoning ordinance, and to the extent that the businesses in the industrial park comply, we don't have the ability to violate them for things if they are in compliance.
Well, what I'm asking is there a way to find out what the, as a resident living literally behind it, to know what they're allowed to do compared to calling the cops saying, hey, they're doing that, and then finding out, you know, they're allowed to do that?
So the best way to do that would be to get a copy of the zoning ordinance, and Gwen can help you with that, and I can even help you with that if necessary. Get a copy of the ordinance, and if you think there's a violation of something in the ordinance, you report that to Gwen, and we'll have our zoning officer investigate that.
Alrighty.
But in order to do that, you're gonna need an acoustical engineer.
But even just with that, the lighting
The
too.
zoning ordinance establishes a noise limit beyond the property boundaries of, let's say, the industrial park. In order to demonstrate that there's a violation of the noise criteria, you're gonna need to have somebody who knows how to measure the noise level on your property.
But I'm just even saying lighting too, because they're putting the LEDs, they're putting too many wattage, and it's going literally in my window. So right now, it's kind of dimmer. I don't know if they changed the lights, but you know,
Well,
when you have it looking like an airport in your own house, that's,
I was responding to your question about noise.
well, it's a mixture of both noise and the lights, because the fact is, you put LEDs, and some of them are high in the building, and they don't actually have them directed down to the parking lot. You're losing all the lighting.
You have to, I
Well,
don't know. I don't know.
Noise and lighting are both standards in the zoning ordinance, and again, I can't speak hypothetically. I just know that if you feel that something is exceeding the noise level, you can check it out with in the zoning ordinance, but as Commissioner Dara has mentioned, that will require a sound study by a engineer to determine whether they're exceeding decibel levels at certain places on the property.
So as a resident, if I'm blaring my radio and a resident calls the cops, why am I being told
Well,
to?
that's a slightly different question. So now, if you are blaring your radio and it's disturbing your neighbor, and he reports that to the police as a nuisance, then the police can respond to that as a nuisance. But that's not covered by the zoning, that's in the criminal code.
But
So
what I'm
here's the
trying to,
thing, if you think that, if you feel that there's a nuisance occurring, but, you know, again, you have to be familiar with some of this terminology, which means you really have to look it up and I mean, really Gwen or I can direct you in that situation. So let us know what you think, who you think is violating the ordinance, and we'll look into it.
all right, thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Harlan, did we need a motion to pass the request for the zoning relative to the distillery? Or is it just unofficial?
No, anything that was done tonight was unofficial.
Okay,
It was
good.
just to introduce it conceptually to the board.
So we're going to pass it along.
Yes.
That's where it starts.
Okay, any other citizen participation? Thank you very much. We may be going into executive session, I'm not quite sure. Thanks for coming.
Ain't no problem.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
Just let one know.
All right.
Night.
Night. So are we going to?
No, no, wait. Do we have a need for an executive session?
Only if you want to talk about the legal issues raised in that attorney's
I think
letter.
that's premature, myself.
It's completely up to
Commissioner Darrow, premature?
Yeah.
Okay, any other new business, any other comments? Meeting adjourned.